Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. Today we're going to talk about ESPN and their layoffs. That was at the end of the month of June. Here we are into July, and some of the fallout is still going. I got three clips that I would like to play. The first two has to do with, the general layoff and the fact that there's so much disdain for Malika Andrews and her still being on ESPN. I have an issue with ESPN and their selection of hosts anyway. Um, and plus, that the men in general are emasculated. They can't say anything. They can't talk about any kind of real issues because they're all silenced by the women who run the company. And in general, Disney has gone so woke almost in every aspect of their company that they're losing money hand over fist everywhere. Whether it's Disney Plus as a subscription network, Star Wars, the shows have gone downhill. I did like Andor, uh, but they swapped out the Mandalorian for a woman. Marvel is downhill. They don't even call it the MCU anymore. She-Hulk was a pure shit show. And the only one I really love out of the ones that they did come up with was WandaVision. WandaVision I thought was fantastic, only because I thought Elizabeth Olsen was over the top fantastic in her part, and I loved it. So I can't cap on that one. But Pixar, they had to do their social justice warrior identity politics in the cartoons, and those things haven't gone over so well. They make some of them make millions of dollars, but they don't make the kind of production and marketing costs back the way they would have hoped. So the Little Mermaid was mixed reviews only because everybody loves Halle Bailey, and she did a great job. She got too much racism, but then again, most of the paying customers are woke, probably woke people, right? Not woke people, but people who like to see cartoons and life somehow mirror each other. And of course, sports, ESPN, this is why we're here. ESPN is a shell of what it used to be. The men can't say anything. The women are just there for show, and they whatever scripts they're reading off of, great. Malika Andrews definitely is in over her head, and she has a low-lying dislike for black men. And me being a black man, it's hard to root for somebody like that. And you know, uh, so what can you say? So I'm gonna play some clips, and we'll just go. We'll see what's going on, shaking in at ESPN for the beginning. At the end, the last clip I'm gonna play from Brother Eric July from the Ripperverse, and he talks about the company in general, and that Disney is. My question is it a company in turmoil? And I think 100% is because of the people they hired for diversity situations, and they're bringing the company down. They're trying to make from the Woman King to killing off T'Challa in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to all of these things where everything is dominated by women, which doesn't have any real truth in real life and biology and the way things really work. So it seems like the whole company has been taken over, and it's like they have a sickness for having especially white men at the top. So it's a bad thing. So I'm looking at Secret Invasion, and I'd like to see that do well, but some of the dialogue is bad. Even though it's not like one of your typical superhero movies, I like the spy and espionage part of it, and it could have been great, and it's not over yet. Hopefully, it'll pick up a little bit. So I don't want to just down it off the block, but just getting back to sports. I mean, it'd be nice to just get back to sports on ESPN, and when something comes up, to have a real honest dialogue on what goes on when there's two sides of a story, or when there's issues or people who have complete disagreements on the thing. It shouldn't be that the men can't be able to speak or be censored or be fined or suspended for saying what they think. It's just crazy. It's not free speech, and and ESPN is in trouble. But I think Disney, all of Disney elements and arms, all have their own problems, but they all center kind of around the same kind of thing. So, without further ado, I'm gonna share the first clip, and we'll just go from there. Share that first clip. Boom, boom. This is from Pink Book Lessons.
ESPN for some days now. On the last day of the month of June, 20 ESPN on air
Fair use.
personalities
Fair
found
use.
out they would no longer be working for the company. Immediately when the news went out, one of the first names to be mentioned happened to be Jalen Rose. That set off supporters wondering why was Jalen Rose being fired and not Malika Andrews. Many believed Malika was the most problematic. Since last year, you've had viewers expressing on social media how much they did not want her there because of all her disrespectful antics. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out the links below in the description. Then you had Malika, who tried to Me Too Jalen on the air the other month ago.
Where does it get your finger out of my armpit? We're just happy to see Jalen Rose welcoming in. But man, where does it get your finger out of my armpit?
And while Malika is a proven misandrist, she's staying on air. On top of that, she never had to apologize. And then once Jalen Rose even had to apologize live on air for his comments.
And I would like to apologize for a comment I made earlier on NBA Countdown. I question why a woman's name who had an alleged affair with Celtics head coach Ime Udoka was not made public.
It wasn't an alleged affair.
Everybody else had to apologize, but Malika never had to do that. It's amazing how she can disrespect the audience and still keep her job. So Jemele Hill came out to show support to her former colleagues who lost their jobs, while also clapping back at the fans who got upset over Jalen being fired instead of Malika. She said, having been through a couple layoffs at ESPN, I know how difficult today is. Wishing my former colleagues the best. I know they'll find their place. Also, not great when people play the why this person and not that person game. Realize that when certain on-air talent lose their jobs, that has a significant impact on the production staff who are not protected the same way on-air talent is. Someone's show going away means producers, tech folks, etc. could lose their jobs too. So try not to be so giddy about it.
Here's why he wasn't losing weight.
Forget the commercials. They always pop them in there.
The part she snuck in to address the situation with Malika and Jalen because everybody was talking about it was the part where she said also not great when people play the why this person, Jalen Rose, and not that person, Malika Andrews. She was obviously annoyed by the people talking about Malika versus Jalen Rose. Now, why would Jemele Hill think that she's got a sisterhood with Malika to defend her? Low key, I guess she figured they had the same enemies. I don't know. Moving right along. So, an old clip of Charles Barkley clowning ESPN, it resurfaced. A lot of people are looking at that clip saying Barkley was warning people about ESPN 7 years ago.
Oh my goodness. So Curry with 21, Durant 39.
Why don't you go to ESPN and then I can not talk to you?
You're not going to work me like a dog and not pay me. Four straight wins for Golden State.
Wait. Why would you go to ESPN? Why would you go to ESPN?
You're not going to work me like a dog and not pay me.
I'm just saying.
Hey,
things that happen on this show.
ESPN 1, 2, 3, ESPN News, ESPN You, ESPN Radio, and then come up with that little puny
Nothing.
You wake up.
I'm telling you.
Nothing good happens after 1:15 in the morning.
ESPN Deportes. They have me on ESPN Deportes. They say, muy bien, gracias. Mama Chacha, Ebenito.
He stops that right there. Hey man, Charles, these guys are crazy. But ESPN's in trouble. I mean, they'll survive, but they're not making the kind of money they used to make. Stephen A. put out his own warning that he might not be safe, but I think he is. But so there's more. I mean, there was something from Jason Whitlock concerning ESPN and Malika Andrews as well, and that was another one that I was going to share. And here's Jason.
More than Disney's acquisition of the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. It's why competition has been de-emphasized and narrative has been prioritized. Magic Johnson wanted to compete against Larry Bird. LeBron James wants to win a fictional narrative war with Michael Jordan. Competition left the courts and moved to TV debate studios where broadcasters and jocks cast themselves as groupies and superfans for a particular athlete, team, or city. Beta males now dominate sports media. They cry on air, they feign offense to every slight, they mask their intellectual deficiencies and lack of courage with claims of racism. They're as passive-aggressive as teenage girls. They're slaves to the matriarchy. The weakness and emasculation of men explains the blacklash to Malika Andrews.
So it's true. That whole thing that we're talking about is true.
Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Thursday to you and yours. Happy day before Friday. Happy day before the weekend gets here. And we all get to celebrate another weekend, another great weekend of college and pro football and just kicking back, relaxing. I'm excited, but I'm more excited about actually today's show. It's going to be fantastic. I have an awesome fire starter and two great guys to start it, to talk about it with. Delano Squires and Steve Kim will be here with us. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get into this fire that I've already teased. Let's talk some Malika Andrews and ESPN. Soon, the relentless social media attack on ESPN broadcaster Malika Andrews' competence and reputation will be inaccurately blamed on the misogyny of Black men. Wednesday, Andrews trended across Twitter as users criticized her airing of new Celtics coach Joe Mazzulla's decade-old criminal indiscretions and her failed attempt to publicly scold Stephen A. Smith over the Celtics' handling of Ime Udoka's inappropriate sexual relationships. All right, let's take a listen for some background.
That Joe Mazzulla will be the interim head coach here. You can see his resume on your screen. He's been a Celtics assistant coach the last 3 seasons after spending the previous 3 seasons at Fairmount State. And he played for West Virginia between 2006 and 2011, and now could become the NBA's youngest head coach at 34 years old. And we'd be remiss not to also mention that Mazzulla was arrested twice at West Virginia, once in 2008 for underage drinking and aggravated assault. He pled guilty, paid a fine, and then again in 2009 for domestic battery after an incident at Morgantown Bar. The domestic battery case never went to trial. It was settled in August of 2009. He paid a $100 fine and court costs, plus had to do 40 hours of community service. Now, that was 13 years ago. He settled and paid both fines. So, Woj, why are the Celtics choosing him as their next head coach?
The fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves. The fact of the matter is, I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired or he deserves to be there and handle it internally and privately. If you're not going to handle it privately, if you're going to publicize it in that fashion, then obviously it provokes everybody wanting to know, okay, well, who are the parties involved?
So let me leave that there. Stephen A is absolutely right from one standpoint. But the other standpoint, I try to make in that whole case, and it's over with. Ime Udoka is at Houston now, but that chick was his subordinate. And just like if it was her HR department says, even if she consented, she couldn't really give consent to a superior without opening up the Celtics to massive lawsuits. Ime Udoka was the guy in charge. He was supposed to get the lion's share of all the blame. Do we really need to know the chick's name? She's an adulteress. She was married, but it still was Ime Udoka who, out of all the women he could have been stroking, why stroke a chick who's working underneath his organization, who's married to one of the Celtics executives? It was just stupid. It was immature. It was dumb. And there's no box that's that delectable, that needed, that, whatever, for you to do something that stupid. So, I don't really care that the woman's name wasn't mentioned. I don't think any of us should. Ime Udoka is the guy with all the power, and he should have never, ever, ever, ever done what he did. So we'll leave that there. But still, it's Malika Andrews and her misandrous ways coming out and talking about who gives a shit what Missoula did when he was a fucking teenager. Right? And every time she talks about it, she even did that to a dead, murdered black guy who was a victim. And she even brought up on his deathbed the fact that he got in trouble when he was like 10 years old or some shit like that. Her hatred for black men is just over the top. And she's in a sports show where black people want to look at it, especially the NBA. So we got to look at her stink ass, every time. I don't even watch the show. I'll wait till the game comes on, and I never watch the halftime show. And every time she holds the mic, I throw up a little bit in the back of my mouth. And I couldn't believe that I thought she was halfway decent when she worked the bubble. I gave her credit for that, but then it's been downhill for her ever since. So I got one more clip about Disney in general from my man Eric July, who's going to talk about how he sees the company going and the kind of trouble that they may be in the future. All right, so we're going to stop sharing this, and we're going to go to his little piece. It might be a little longer because he has a lot to say, and I don't mind sharing that with you. So here's Eric July, the owner of the Rippaverse.
Guys, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but I don't think this is sustainable.
Fair use.
And it's going to be interesting to see which parts of this massive company starts to get either one sold off or licensed, so that way they're not liable for the costs that are generally associated with the content that's being put out. Well, we saw this coming. It's just now confirmed. Indiana Jones, the box office of doom. Why Dial of Destiny has 60 million opening, isn't setting records for the franchise finale. And let me just say this. In order for this damn movie to make money, it would have had to set several records. I believe that they are saying that they have spent on the upward of $300-something million to make this damn thing happen. And I always have to remind people that watch this, because as they do with the Marvel movies, people try to salvage it by saying, well, it'll end up X place on the box office, and therefore they make that money. Economic lesson for you, more of an industry lesson. The studios do not get 100% of the box offices. They don't. That has never been the case. Okay. And as long as the movie continues to come out, so it'll be in, let's say weeks, months from now, or month, whatever that looks like, that percentage gets less as far as what they take from the box office. Okay. Even more so internationally, that number is lower in terms of what the studio brings back. So Just because it may, let's say, have a $60 million box office opening, does not mean that they made $60 million. In fact, it means not even anything close to that. Even though Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny is looking to hit the bottom rung of its tracking projection, 60 million, that's fucking terrible. Sunday morning, there's no question this is a disastrous result for the finale to a historically beloved franchise film. Come on, Indiana Jones is one of the reasons why Disney shelled out $4 billion for Lucasfilm. Global start here at $130 million is $10 million less than what we were seeing. The projections weren't even enough. If the projections had been right, they still would have goddamn lost money. Now, they haven't even hit them internationally. And they're done. The fan load, Indiana Jones and Crystal Skull had a $272.1 million global start unadjusted. That's unadjusted for inflation. So that was a global start at $272.1 million. And yet they are starting as of right now today at $130 million. They're not getting anything goddamn close to 272, which is what, again, Crystal Skull had. Not only did Star Wars bomb, Solo open higher than Dial of Destiny, and Solo lost money, if I'm not mistaken, with 84.4 million on a 3-day, 4-day. But so did Paramount's 7th cool Transformers Rise of the Beast. Yesterday, I learned from a key source that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny before $100 million is estimated. P&A cost a mind-boggling $300 million plus. So this is the point that I was making. And this is folks that have been on our pocket in our corner of the internet have been making. That this shit costs more than what they were even leading us to believe with. Okay? These guys are going to lose money, and a lot of it. And even if in the odd chance, which is not going to happen with this movie, but it does with some others, even in the odd chance that it made in the green, I don't know, $30 million. Guys, that's a loss. You do not sink $300 million into a project over the course of several years to only make 30. That's not how it works. These guys are in trouble. Access Media are starting to understand that. But here's the thing and the take that I want to have here. Okay, so they just took an L there. They have been taking L's back to back, elementals. Okay, we've seen the decline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Secret, whatever. That's not making any money because they're not making money from Disney Plus. They've been losing billions of dollars each quarter. Okay. Parks are stagnating, which is where the moneymaker was. So you have several box office flops, and your parks are not doing like you'd want them to do. It's getting very competitive with Universal, at least in the Florida sense. This is not a sustainable practice. So they have some decisions to make over there at Disney because at this trajectory, these guys are going to be done, file for bankruptcy. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. But more so, what's more realistic to me is that they're going to trim a lot of fat. We've seen a lot of layoffs. They're going to continue to do that. They have to rein in these damn budgets. These budgets have been unreal. They have been spending a lot of money to make Jack Diddley. That can't continue to happen. So they're spending all this money to make nothing. They've inherited a lot of debt. The Fox deal, they've inherited money. They don't have the money. Okay. Stuff ain't sweet anymore. It's not sweet. So when they continue to hold the L, and what happens next, I think they continue with the layoffs, and there's going to be certain aspects of their productions. And I don't know, maybe it's going to be publications, or they're going to start licensing that stuff off because it's not worth it. When you start losing money, you look at every individual line item. And maybe you do start with stuff that doesn't seem to matter. And maybe at some point, I don't know, they look at Marvel or even the Star Wars comics that ain't making no damn money. And they're like, all right, well, we spend all this money per year on publishing. That's stupid. Let's license that stuff off, or let's just not do it. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's the type of idea that to me, my guesstimation, just understand the business, that's where they're going to go. But I highly doubt that these guys are going to continue to lose money like they are, spending the way it is that they are, because it's not sustainable. So it's going to be intriguing. But imagine being in the position that they are. I made this point, I think, on Tuesday Night's Main Event, some other shows as well. This was a layup for Disney. Disney, you got control of all of the Marvel properties. And instead of, I don't care what you need to do, when you got a control of all that stuff, including Fox, right? Yeah, I get it. Sony has some Spider-Man stuff wrapped up in it. But once that deal got made and you were good to go, at that point, you start working in overdrive and you start moving stuff aside. Who cares what your plan is? But think about what the MCU has as an example. Lucasfilm is on, like they did that on Rob. But look at the other stuff, like Marvel, okay? Are you excited for Secret whatever that's out? No. Are you excited for the upcoming Marvels movie? No, you're not. What about the upcoming Agatha Harkness show? Probably not. Or Echo. You excited about Echo? No, you're not excited about Echo. See, this is stuff that they planned because these idiots, whoever they were listening to, going into that next phase. And they told them, you just made all this money. Let's move in and start producing garbage like the Eternals. They're in trouble. All of those projects are back to back to back. All I just mentioned, that's all they got down the pipeline. We don't even know if, I don't know, Blade, they probably should just ask that. They probably should just get rid of, like, that may be something they can make a little money. I don't know if I, like the actor maybe playing it, looking at it in respective, definitely considering he already played someone that was actually in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That doesn't make any damn sense. But that's down the line anyway. What they should have been doing was moving in overdrive. I don't give a damn what mountains you got to move. Now that you have control of the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, that's who you build your next phases around. Period.
That's exactly it. So let's end it there. I tell you, man, he's just, so that was the company in whole. All the parts are not doing, it's not just ESPN. Just the piece parts are not even doing that well. Let's go ahead and, stop sharing that and kind of wrap this up. I tell you, they're not really, I don't know what's going on at Disney. Whoever took control of the mantle and had all this wokeism stuff in there, it just doesn't make sense. So with that, I'm just saying, listen, this is let's just end it up there. This marriage, politics, and sports. I have a few things on my channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I have some political stuff on there. I have some relationship things on there as well. So it's my big triad, marriage, politics, and sports. These are things that permeate almost everybody's life. Some people are not married, but if you are a human being, you have a relationship or two. But I look at marriage as the ultimate relationship. And, so listen, R Payne, that's what they call me, over and out.